Hello and welcome to Talk BGKY, the official podcast of the City of Bowling Green, Kentucky. Today we're here at the Public Works Operations Division where we are speaking with Tony Phelps, the Street Maintenance Supervisor. Tony teaches city employees hired to drive the big machines the correct way to operate them so they can pass their commercial driver's license tests. I am Debbie West, the Public Information Officer for the City of Bowling Green and your host today. I had the privilege once of listening to Tony speak about the safe driving habits that can help all drivers do a better job of handling their cars. So today we're going to talk to Tony about that, and we want to have some fun with this. So I'll be asking Tony about his biggest pet peeves that he encounters in traffic in Bowling Green. Hey Tony, thanks for being here today.
Howdy, how are you today?
I'm doing well. So talk to me about some safe driving habits that people can incorporate every day to make themselves better drivers.
Put their cell phones down would be the main thing. Cell phones and driving don't mix. It distracts you from driving. And use your turn signals. People don't use their turn signals like they should. You need to let people know what your intentions are. That would be two of the things that I wish people would do. And in 2007, Safety Dave and I started doing what is called the Smith system.
Okay. And Safety Dave, for those of you listening, is Dave Weisbrot, our risk management director here at the City of Bowling Green.
And in 2007, we went and took a 4-day class on the Smith system. It's don't teach people how to drive. It teaches people to be a better driver. And we use 5 keys to do that. We call them keys. Number 1 is aim high in steering. We want people to look further out in front of them than what they probably normally do. We want you to look at least 15 seconds ahead, which is not that far. It's 2 or 3 blocks in the city, maybe a mile out on the road. But be aware of what's out in front of you. Key number 2 is to get the big picture. We want you to scan your mirrors every 5 to 8 seconds. And be aware of what's going on around you. We want you to achieve a 360-degree circle of awareness. And key number 3 is keep your eyes moving. Don't focus on anything for more than 2 seconds. When you focus on something, your mind will start to wander. We want you to maintain what you're doing driving. Driving should be the main thing that you're doing when you're behind the steering wheel. Key number 4 is leave yourself an out. We want you to not crowd people. We want you to have room to make decisions to go around or slow down or stop. Don't tailgate people. And key number 5 is make sure they see you. Use your turn signals, your headlights. Let people know what you're doing.
Okay. So you say leave yourself an out. I think probably we've all been at some point or another cut off in traffic. Maybe you've decided to put enough distance between you and the vehicle in front of you. And then all of a sudden a couple of cars cut in front and now you're 3 feet from the person in front of you's bumper. So observations or skills you can share with us on doing well with that, or is that part of that taking it all in view that you were talking about?
If somebody cuts you off, just take your foot off the accelerator and slow down a little bit. You won't lose that much time, and let them get on out in front of you, and try to always maintain at least a 4-second following distance from the person in front of you.
And when you say 4-second following distance, about how many car lengths is that?
That would depend on the speed you're going. The way to get your 4-second following distance is when the vehicle in front of you passes a stationary or fixed object. Count how many seconds it takes for you to get to that. If it takes 6, you're 6 seconds behind them, or 4, you're 4 seconds behind them, such as a mailbox or a light pole or something that's fixed.
All right, so let's talk about the first key that you talked about in the Smith system, aim high in steering. Tell me about that in a little bit more detail as far as when you're in traffic in Bowling Green versus when you're out on the interstate.
Well, like if you're in traffic in Bowling Green, you want to look further out in front of you, and you want to look for turn signals, brake lights, emergency equipment, red lights, anything that might interrupt your travel, and be prepared for that. That's the reason we don't want you to run up on something and have to hit your brakes, and then the person behind you hit you or you hit whoever's in front of you.
And you talked about cell phone usage. So I think everybody has a cell phone, just about. So what about hands-free versus, having it in your hand and up against your ear? Is any cell phone usage a distraction in your opinion?
It is, because when you're talking on a cell phone, your mind is with the conversation and not what you're doing, not what you're driving. If I'm giving somebody directions or whatever I'm talking about, that's where my mind's at. It's not focused on driving.
All right, so we've talked about cell phone usage and that taking your mind off of driving. What about when you're a busy parent and you've got 3 or 4 kids in the car? What's your best advice for being able to keep your mind focused, keep your eyes focused, and maintain your precious cargo?
That's the key right there. It is precious cargo, and you need to keep that in mind. If you need to, find a safe place to park, take care of your kids, whatever you need to do to them, and then continue on your journey, because a spilt Coke ain't worth having a wreck over.
No, it sure isn't. Or a spilled milkshake or anything else
or anything
that
else
have happened to you.
And talking about the cell phones, if you don't think cell phones distract people, notice at red lights how long the light is green before the person takes off. It's because they're looking down at their phone. That happens a lot.
Right. So I guess if you see someone on their cell phone when you're driving, that's probably a good person to avoid.
It's a good person to avoid. It is.
All right. So thank you for giving us some driving tips. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back after this message.
Our parks are a place to and our parks are a place to work. With over 1,000 acres of parks, 24 parks, 32 ball fields, and 15 playgrounds, Bowling Green Parks and Recreation offers abundant opportunities for you to help us create an environment where our people fall in love with our community and make lasting memories. Apply today at joinbgky.org.
All right, so welcome back to Talk BGKY. If you're just now joining us, we are talking to Tony Phelps, who works at the Public Works Operations Division here in the city of Bowling Green. He teaches city employees how to obtain their commercial driver's license tests. So we've been talking about some rules of the road, things that he goes over, but what I want to get into now is what are some of your biggest pet peeves? What are things that you see drivers do in Bowling Green that absolutely drive you crazy, and why?
Being on their cell phone and not using turn signals. That just drives me nuts. If you're sitting at an intersection and you ain't got a turn signal on, nobody knows what you're doing. Are you turning, going straight? What are you doing? Let people know what your intentions is. That way everybody knows what you're going to do and they can be prepared for that. And cell phones. Cell phones is terrible. It's just a big distraction. Just stay off your cell phone while you're driving. Concentrate on driving. That's the most important thing that you're doing at that moment is driving.
Okay. And I'm going to go back to the first thing you said about using your turn signals. Why is it so important for other people to know what you're doing?
So they'll know whether they can turn, pull out, let you turn. Just how many times have you said it, a red light, not knowing what the guy next to you is doing, and then them turn and almost cut you off, because you didn't know they was turning.
One of the things I see that drives me crazy is people who never turn their turn signals off. You get behind them for miles and miles on the interstate, and that right turn signal's on or the left turn signal's on, and you don't know whether to pass them or not because you don't know where they're going.
I agree. That drives me nuts. That drives me nuts too.
And what about people stopping for red lights here? That's something I see quite a bit. The rolling on through is the yellow for some people means speed up. Hit it as fast as you can so you can get there hopefully before the light turns red. Do you see that?
I see that all the time too, and that's aggravating too. If it's yellow, y'all need to be preparing to stop. It's fixing to turn red.
Right, and that's dangerous. And tell me why.
Well, because just as soon if yours is turning red, the opposite traffic on the sides is fixing to turn green, and if it turns green, you're going to have a collision. If two vehicles is trying to occupy the same spot, that's a collision. That's what you're trying to avoid.
What are some of the other things you see?
Tailgating, people too close to you. Tailgating is just terrible. You're not in that big a hurry. Back up, get that 4-second following space. If you're tailgating somebody and a dog or a ball or something rolls out in front of you and you hit your brakes, you're going to hit them. The person behind you is going to hit you. Just following distance. Give people plenty of room.
What are some of the things you've seen? I know, every year we have a new crop of students come in with Western, and a lot of them have a little bit of trouble navigating our roundabouts. What's some advice you can give on proper driving of roundabouts?
When you come into a roundabout, it's a yield sign, not a stop sign. If there's nothing coming, you can roll on through it. Now, if there's something coming, you've got to stop. But if there's nothing coming, just roll on through it. But be careful. But a lot of people pull up there and stop and turn and look. They don't yield, they stop. That's not a stop sign.
Right. I see a lot of people treat those as four-way stops.
Yes, a lot of people do.
It seems to still puzzle, especially younger drivers. Younger drivers from other cities where maybe they're smaller towns and they don't have roundabouts, and they come into town and they're not really sure what to do or what lane to get in.
Yep. And speaking of that, there's signs that shows you what lane to get in if you want to go all the way around or halfway around or what have you. Pay attention to your road signs.
Oh, that's really good advice. Always pay attention to your road signs.
Pay attention to your road signs.
That's something else we haven't talked about yet, and that's something maybe that people need to really pay close attention to, especially in downtown Bowling Green. Let's talk about that a little bit, where you've got every other road is a one-way street.
Yes.
I see people coming down that street right beside City Hall
at least once a week
in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
And that happens. There's some other things, though, that you can look out for besides the road signs. What are some things that you can look at and say, oh, wait a minute, I'm going the wrong way. This is a one-way road. Tell me some things people can watch for so that they know that they're on a one-way street going the wrong way.
The first thing that comes to mind is which way's the cars parked on each side of the road. If they're all pointed in the same direction, parked on each side of the road, chances are that's a one-way street in that direction that they're pointed, That's a big thing.
And probably some of the road signs, too.
Yes, and road signs. There's road.
If you see a stop sign in one place and you don't see it on the other side, then
yep.
that might be a clue.
That would be a clue. Yes, ma'am.
Anything else that you see that you can share with drivers around town, things that you've seen that you wish they would, be more mindful of?
Just be patient. Don't be in such a rush. Don't be in such a hurry. And everybody just take your time and get there safely. Because if you get in a hurry and have an accident, the 2 or 3 minutes you might save could cost you hours or more if you're in an accident.
And thousands of dollars. All right. Well, thank you so much for being with us today, Tony. You've been listening to Talk BGKY.